Hello, in this video we're going to discuss elevations. Let's do what we usually do and import our new blocks into our project file. Go to your blocks area, copy all of them, go to the project file, delete the ones that you already have, and insert the new ones. Whenever you import new blocks or new items into your drawings from different areas, you're going to also import with them layers in which they were created, dimension styles and annotation styles. So on my right side, you will see that I have new layers called layers, elevation, hatch, and so on, created automatically, and you should as well. Now let's create our new sheets labeled A1, A1A, A1 for front and rear elevations, and so on. Let's use first floor plan as our reference. Let's make a copy of it. When you do, remove the def points line as I have on the screen. Select the viewport and right click on the blue square and unlock the viewport. Once you do this, go inside of the viewport and pan up until you stop at the front elevation box. When you do this, and again, you don't have to worry about the front elevation name to be there. When you do this, make sure you change the scale to 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. And then the actual box itself of the viewport, you can scale down so that you can only see the box of the front elevation. Make sure you lock this viewport and move it to the top left corner of the sheet. Then you have to create 3 more viewports. I would copy this one and then just pan to the elevation places that you have in your model space. And put the one on this sheet on the bottom right corner, similar to what I'm showing you on the screen. Feel free to add def points lines to indicate the exact location of those viewports and those rectangular boxes so that you can maintain the same location of viewports on both sheets, A1 and A1A. Next, let's go ahead and turn off the layers that we are not going to need in order to create the front elevation. As you can see on the right side of my screen, the layers that we need, essentially those are only the foundation doors and windows, foundation walls, first walls and windows, and first doors and windows, as well as second doors and windows and second walls. Once you do this, go ahead and copy the entire thing from the floor plan area and put it above the front elevation. This is the floor plan that we're going to project on top of the front elevation. At the same time, we're going to copy the same floor plan, put it above the rear elevation. And rotate it 180 degrees in order for us to have the elevation of that area. Make sure you try to position the floor plans closer to the middle of the box below. Repeat the same process for the left and the right elevations. What you should end up with is something like this, where you have the floor plan above the elevation box, rotate it according to the designated direction. Next, let's only leave the first floor layers on. So we're turning off the foundation layers and the second floor layers. And let's start with the first floor and draw the axis lines, which are the reference lines from the corners of our building. Make sure that you select the def points layer so they're not going to get printed. Type in XL and draw them from the left corner, the middle corner, and the right corner. Make sure you draw them completely vertically, and the way you can do this is by seeing the green dashed lines. Also, let's draw copy the XL lines and put them in the openings area, the same way we have done the dimensions. And once you do that, let's change the color of those, but only the color to magenta. And do the same thing for the garage door opening. This way we're going to differentiate our corners from our openings. Repeat the same process for the rest of the elevations. Once you have finished, you should see something like this. We're going to have several openings in our rear elevation and no openings in our left and right elevations, just the corners. Now let's go ahead and copy a block or a detail from the top portion of your updated blocks. You can type CO or Control C and put it somewhere on the left side of the reference lines that you have drawn. Copy it and place it on each of the elevation areas. Make sure that they're going to align horizontally. So this is what you should see once you have finished this process. Also, for your benefit, I have created a reference elevation portion, which is going to help you see the typical outlines and typical line work that is recommended for an elevation. Again, this is not our building, we're just only going to copy this and put it next to our front elevation for reference. Go ahead and select it, copy it, and paste it on the left side from the dimensions that we have drawn. They don't have to align in this case, this is just a frame of reference for you. Now let's go ahead and draw reference lines from our top of wall TOW. And lines should be horizontal. If they're not, draw them somewhere else and then move them to the top of wall area. Copy this reference line and put it at the top truss bearing dimension line. This way we're going to design our building outline. And once you do it once, it should appear on all of the elevations because this is a continuous line. As you do this, let's go ahead and change our layer to elevation. Make sure that the color is by layer and the line type is by layer. Then type L for line and draw a box or series of boxes where the lines that are in blue intersect. I draw one going up to the right, down, and I extend the one from the top to the right side where they intersect. Draw another one going down and connect them all the way through at the bottom. So this is my building outline, and we're going to repeat the same process for the rest of the elevations. Once you have done this, you should have something like this for the rear elevation, 1 box, for the left elevation 2 boxes, and for the right elevation 1 box. Next item on our list would be to create corners for our building elevations. We will type in offset, select 3.5 inches, and go from each side of the building outline. Make sure that you are still in the elevations layer, and follow my prompts as well as the PDFs regarding where those lines should be. Essentially, if your building is sticking out like our garage, you should put it on inside of the 2 lines that resemble the building outline. Once you've drawn these lines, change the actual color of those lines to a green one. Do not change the layer, just change the color. Once you have changed the colors, you should have something like this, and repeat the process for the rest of the elevations. Once you've done this, you should have 2 lines on the rear elevation that are green, 3 lines on the left elevation, and 2 lines on the right elevation. At this point, we're going to turn off our first doors and first walls and turn on the foundation layers that I'm in need of. The foundation walls and foundation doors and windows, as well as the foundation footings. If after turning on the foundation footings layer, you're not seeing the foundation footings on your floor plan, That could have been because we did not turn that layer on whenever we copied our floor plan, but yet we can see it in our main floor plan area. So what you can do is essentially copy those green lines and align them to the floor plan. The way I like doing this, I select one of the lines, press select similar, and it highlights all of these lines at the same time. Then I right click on this area and press group. So these lines are going to be grouped together. I make a copy of them, select a corner of the building, and copy them to the same corner. Now I'm going to do the same process for the rest of the elevations and for the rest of the floor plans and make sure I rotate them as well. So as a result, you're going to see the foundation and the footings represented on all of the floor plans that we're showing. And as you can see, the footings are offset 4 inches in both directions of our foundation walls. Since our foundation walls align with our first and second walls, we're going to stay in the elevation layer, make sure we change our color to be green at this point, and draw an 8-foot long line down up to the top of footing area, as you can see on my screen. In order to better see that line, we're going to remove the blue reference lines only. And this way you can see the 8-foot long line on one end. I'm going to draw another line that is going to go across and end at the right side of the building outline, and draw another one up. Remove an extra reference line on both sides, and let's draw one more foundation line from the middle of our outline. Now let's draw our footing. Let's go to the bottom left corner and go 4 inches to the left and 8 inches down, as well as go across in the same direction as our bottom line. Align it with the right side, go 4 inches to the right, 8 inches up, and 4 inches to the left. This is going to resemble our footing. Once you have done this, select the right side of the footing, that line, copy it, and paste it exactly where the middle line is at, so they will be the same. Follow the PDF and repeat the same procedure for the rest of the foundations and the footings. Once you have finished, you should have something like this on your screen for the rear elevation, the left elevation, as well as the right elevations. Next item on our list will be to draw windows and shutters. So let's go ahead and go to the depth points layer and draw a horizontal line from the window height on the first floor level, as well as the window height on the second floor level. Now let's change the color to be by layer. Let's go to the blocks area at the top and let's select the window that we're going to place there. We're going to pick a 3.0 by 5.0 window, a 3 by 5. Let's go ahead and copy it. Put it close to the area where we're going to have an opening. Since it's going to go in between the magenta lines. As you can see, let's turn on the first floor levels to make sure that we are still on the right track of where we're supposed to put them. As you can see, we have our window in between the two magenta lines on the left, and this is where our window is going to go. And the top of our window is going to go on the window height reference line that we have just drawn. I personally like doing this. You can either do it from the middle of the window, or I like doing this from the corner, and you put it right in the area where the magenta corner and the blue corner align. if for some reason you're not able to select your reference lines, that happens if you have 0 layer turned off. So I will personally turn it on so that I can now pick those lines and align to them. So let's repeat the process for putting the window into that area. And I put it right in the corner between the magenta line and the blue line. As a result, you should see something like this. Let's go ahead and add shutters for our window. The shutters are located in the blocks area above. Here you will see several sizes of shutters, and we're going to pick the 16 by 5. Since this is a 5-foot shutter, we're going to go ahead and copy it next to our window and position it from corner to corner near our window, mirror it on the other side, and press no. There you go. We have 2 shutters around our window. Next item would be for us to put a trim for our window. And let's reference our sample on the left side. We have on the first floor the top and the bottom trim. So what we can do, we can go ahead and select them from that window, copy them from the corner of that window to the corner of our window. And as you can see, our window is wider, so we need to extend the top and the bottom trim. Let's first align the top trim to the top right corner of our window. And then let's figure out the distance in which we have to extend it so that it will be the same on both sides. And it is 1 inch and 7/8 of an inch extension that we need to have. You can drag it manually up until you see the 1 and 7/8. Same process goes for the bottom portion, 1 and 7/8 of an inch. Now that one window on our front elevation is complete, let's go ahead and turn off our first walls and first doors layers and turn on the second walls and second doors layer so that we can do the same thing for our second floor. And as you can see, one of the windows is aligning perfectly with the one on the first floor, but others don't. So since the first one is aligning perfectly with the one above, let's go ahead and copy everything above to the height that we have indicated with our reference line, except for the upper trim. And let's copy it from corner to corner. And there you go. This is the exact same window in the exact same area. Now we're going to repeat the process in order to copy the rest of the windows on the front elevation. Once you finish, you should have something like this on your front elevation. You have 4 windows on the second floor and 1 window on the second floor. Repeat the same process for the rest of the elevations, and you should have 6 windows in the rear elevation, all aligned vertically and horizontally, 1 window on the right and left elevations. The next thing on our list is to create a door. We're going to copy the reference line from the window height to the first dimension. And once we do this, we're actually going to copy the entire thing on our left and align it. Since it's already aligned to the first level, we're going to copy the entire assembly from the corner of our bottom trim or left side trim and align it to the same location over here. As you can see, this is our door and it's exactly the same size. Now this is not the actual door and these blue lines, so we're going to remove them. This is just for reference, and put in a block 30 by 6/8, which is located at the very top. You can copy it from the corner at the top left side and locate it in the top left corner as well. And it aligns perfectly, like exactly what we need. Now let's copy the entire assembly of trim and door, because we also have a door on the rear elevation, and let's align it to the same horizontal space. Another thing that we're going to do is to create a concrete stoop. That is something you step on once you come in or come out of the house. Sometimes we draw foundations for them, but in this case, we're only going to bring grade to that point. So we highlight those 3 lines in our reference area. We copy them from the middle of the door and from the middle of the bottom trim of the door and align it to the same location for our front elevation, as well as our rear elevation here. For some reason, the door is not aligned to the same height, so we're going to grab the door and grab those lines and align them to the first floor. Select all of them, press M for move. Let's make sure our bottom corner is aligned with the first floor. There we go. Let's remove those excess reference lines for our doors on both front and rear elevations and focus on our garage doors. There is already a reference elevation designed for you for garage door. You can go ahead and copy the entire thing and put it on the right side from your drawing for now. And let's dive deeper into how it's going to be designed. But before that, let's remove the extra reference lines that are in our way. And this line over here in our reference elevation is actually going to be our elevation line of the top of wall. So what we want to do, we want to draw a line horizontally from our top of wall and align this line to the reference line. We can remove this line for now. Since we have aligned this perfectly, now what we need to do is we need to copy the entire portion of this drawing to the left side where our reference line in magenta is intersecting with our red outline line. You can go ahead and copy it from the top left corner of the garage door itself, or move it in this case. We can now remove the actual door because we're not going to have this door. Select the right side of the entire assembly. Make sure that you highlight it in green and drag it from the right side of the future garage door to the right side of the magenta line. Now all we need to do is fill in this opening. Let's remove these reference lines and fill in the opening with the garage door block located at the top. We're going to pick a 16 by 8 garage door, so copy, CO, and align it to the corners. As you can see, we have our built-in outline line going through our garage door. The way I like to fix it is I type BR for break, and I select the portion of this line and drag it to the portion where I do not want it to align over to this side of the trim. And on the other side, the same thing. You just drag it to the other portion of the trim. There we go. Now we have a clean garage door look on our elevation. The next thing we're going to focus is the thick light green line. We're going to drag it from one side of the drawing to the other. Make sure it's going to be flat. For now, this represents our grade level. This is what you're essentially walking on when you walk on the street or on the ground. We'll go in the middle, add vertex, and go somewhere along the line on the right side of the stoop. Go to the left, select add vertex, go to the bottom right corner of our stoop. Again, left side, add vertex, bottom left corner, and one more add vertex in the same plane horizontal area for our grade. So essentially what we've shown, we're showing that we're going to build up grade for our concrete stoop to sit on. So the person is going to walk out of the door on the concrete stoop and then walk down the grade. We're going to repeat the same process for the rest of the elevations. The rear elevation also has a door, but the other elevations do not have a door, so it's going to be a horizontal line. This is how it's going to look like for you if you've done it correctly. On the front elevation, on the rear elevation, it's pretty much the same thing. You just have to adjust the length of the line. And the left elevation will be a flat horizontal line, and the right elevation will also be a flat horizontal line. Now we're going to finish designing the foundation for our garage. As you might have noticed already, our garage is actually sitting separately from the rest of our foundation in the basement, because it's going to have shorter foundation walls, like you can see on the screen right now. Thus, we have to design the front elevation of that foundation as well. The way we're going to go about doing this is first go to the elevation layers, make sure that our color is green to be consistent. Then we're going to type L from the, let's say somewhere from the middle of this portion, 3 feet down, and then we're going to drag it from the corner of our garage door so that it's going to align, and 4 inches to the side, 8 inches down, all the way to the right green line, 4 inches to the right, 8 inches up, and connect them. Now we can remove the middle line and trim our line over here. Essentially what we're doing, we're recreating our foundation wall with footing, but at a 3-foot level from the top of wall. We're going to do the same thing on the left side. From the middle red line, go 3 foot down. Make sure that it's going to be a completely vertical line. Now we're also going to draw the same thing on the left side, 4 inches to the left, 8 inches down. Align it to the corner of the garage, 4 inches to the right to again represent the footing, 8 inches up, and drag it across as needed. Now we have designed the foundation for our garage and the rest of the building. Next thing we're going to focus on is to represent our garage door correctly on our elevation. We're going to draw a reference line from the truss bearing at the garage, and we're going to trim our 2 lines that intersect it in the middle up to this point. And we can change this green line to be a red line, because this is going to be an outline of our garage door, and trim it on this side as well. Next item on our list will be to draw the overhangs, which will have 6 inches throughout all the sides. The way we're going to go about doing this is we're going to select the elevation layer and pick our color to be by layer, and extend it from the top left corner 6 inches to the left, and repeat the same process for the right side. Or what I would do is I would copy it and align it to the right side of our building outline, and repeat the same process for the garage as well as the rest of the elevations. Once you have finished all the overhangs, you can see how they're going to be represented on all of the elevations. It's going to be a pretty consistent look throughout. Here you can see it overlaps with an existing line, and that's fine. We want to keep it this way for now. Now let's go ahead and fix our garage elevation on other sides as well. Since we've fixed it only on the front elevation, let's go ahead and do it on the right side as well. Right and left side. So let's draw a reference line on the def points layer across where we drew our outline, and let's fix it on the left elevation first. As you can see, we can see a portion of the garage only, and since it is only 1 story high, we'll only have to capture this portion at the height of the reference line that we have just drawn. So let's drag this line to the left up to where our overhang is at, and let's drag the line on the left a bit closer to where the other one is at. Let's select this line, drag it down to the reference line, and trim the excess of the green and the right lines on the right side. Once we have done this, we can see this is where our garage building outline is supposed to be at on the left elevation, and let's do the same thing on the right elevation. But here you can see a portion of our elevation is visible on the left side, as well as the portion of our second floor elevation is visible. So what we're doing, we're going to the depth points layer, dragging or drawing another XL line from the area where our second floor is starting. As you can see, it aligns with our foundation line below. Let's go ahead and copy these two lines to the left and trim the top line, or copy it so that it's going to be at the same level as our garage door. Trim it from the right side, and let's trim or drag the excess from this area. Let's remove the reference lines since we're not going to need them anymore. Let's trim a few lines as well on the right elevation. Let's fillet the left portion of the garage with the right portion of the building, and this is how it's supposed to look like as a final product. The next item that we're going to draw will be the gutter board and the gutter, which we can see a reference on the left side of our reference building elevation. You can see there are orange lines representing the gutter and the red lines above and below representing the gutter board. As you can see, it aligns with the truss bearing. So what we can do, we can copy the entire assembly from the left side to the right side, but just the horizontal pieces. And as a frame of reference, we can copy them from the top left corner of the red lines, and that corner is supposed to align with our overhang, like this. Once you have copied this, you can see that we have to extend the right side. What I do, I select the entire thing and press stretch, S for stretch, and drag it to the right side of the building outline. Let's at this point trim the red line and the green line to be underneath the gutter board line. And let's do the same thing on the left side. Let's go ahead and copy the same area for our garage elevation, just like this, and trim any lines that go across the gutter board. And let's do the same thing for the rear elevation only. As you can see, this is the final look of the rear elevation. However, the left elevation and the right elevations will be different, since we're going to design a gable roof, and it will be different on the left and the right side. So how we're going to go about doing this is actually going to figure out our slope for the roof, which we're going to carry on for the rest of our design. So let's go all the way to the top, where we can see the different blocks for return and no return. In our case, we want to pick a no return. Select the 6 by 12 slope. You can see there's an assembly here. Select the entire thing, copy it, and bring it closer to the left elevation, to the top left corner. Once you have done this, another thing that we will do is the red line that is going vertical, we're going to drag it or copy it to the left side. Then copy this line 6 inches to the right, which will represent our overhang. And we're going to remove the lines that are not necessary anymore, the left line and the right line, and drag the green line to this line. Now, having done this, we're going to select the entire assembly. This is our 6-inch overhang that we're going to have consistent throughout our building. Let's copy the entire assembly and select the top left corner and align this corner with our left side of our building outline. Now let's trim the excess pieces, the green line, the red lines, so that we can have a nice and clean look. We can drag this line to the right for now, but we want to keep it. Let's remove this line. Now the same thing is going to occur on the right side of our building as well. The same slope, the same types of lines. These ones can remove since those have been only for reference. Let's select the same thing we have copied and copy it to the right side. Or what I like doing is mirroring it first so that I don't have to worry about redrawing it. I press MI and I mirror it, and I copy the right corner and align it with the right side of the building outline or overhang, and repeat the same process of trimming the extra lines. Once we have trimmed the extra lines, we want to somehow align all of these, the left side and the right side, and connect them. The way I like doing this personally is using the fillet command, F, select the first red line on the right side, and select the left line as well. And this way it connects these lines because they are in the same plane and they meet at a certain point. And you can go ahead and do this for the rest of the lines, as you can see. Now we can establish a peak of our roof, and all the lines are connected, and this is going to be our elevation. If you have any extra lines that remain from you copying things, go ahead and remove them just to make your drawing cleaner. We will repeat the same process for the garage. However, our garage will need to be of a lower slope, so we're going to select a 4x12 slope for now, and we'll see later on if it's going to actually work out for our windows. So we're copying the same thing, removing that excess 4x12, reversing it, or what I like doing is mirroring it and repeating the same process, moving the line to the corner, and from that corner moving it 6 inches to the left, extending the green line, copying the entire assembly, and moving it from the right corner to the overhang, and trimming the excess. Now in this case, we're going to have all the lines extend up to the left red line, and I pressed EX for extend. Let's trim the pieces that we're not going to need. Now we're going to repeat the same process for the right elevation. And this is the final look of the right elevation. As you can see, we have done the same thing, used the same slopes, and trimmed line in the following fashion. You can refer to PDFs for how to trim them exactly. The PDFs are going to show things in the black and white and color versions. Let's go ahead and establish our peak, XL, for reference. Make sure you're in the depth points layer and draw a horizontal line. This is going to show us where our ridge or our peak of our roof is going to be. And the way we're going to go about drawing our roof, we're going to go back to the elevation layer, make sure that our color is by layer, and we're going to draw a line from the left side of our gutter board and extend it all the way to that reference line. Drag one across to the right side of our overhang, and drag it down. This is going to be our roof on the front elevation. We can now select these 3 lines that we have drawn and copy them to the rear elevation because they're going to be exactly the same, since this is a gable roof. Once we have done this, we need to draw a ridge vent, which is what you can see on the left side. You can select it, copy it from the left side, move it to the left side, and extend it as needed. You can roughly guess it's going to be roughly about a foot away from the right side, and trim TR for the line that is in between the ridge vent. Now copy the same ridge vent for the rear elevation, we're going to only see the ridge vent on the front and rear elevations. Now let's double check if our slope for the roof 4x12 is going to actually work. Let's find the highest point of our garage roof, draw a reference line on the depth points layer, and see whether it cuts through our windows. And as you can see, it does. On the front elevation, it cuts through our windows, which there's several ways of fixing it, and the best one in our case would be to simply change the slope of our garage roof. And the way we're going to go about doing this is that we're going to go to the elevation layer, press L for line, drag the line to the left for 12 inches or 1 foot, and drag it 2 inches up. Now from the same portion where we've started the bottom line, we're going to draw another line and connect the two ends. What this is going to represent is the outline of our roof at a 2x12 slope. So 12 inches to the left, 2 inches up, which represents a 2x12 slope. Now we're going to essentially offset or extend first that line all the way to the building outline, as you can see right here, and trim it so that we can see exactly where the top of our roof is going to be at. Now we're going to go ahead and offset in order to use the offset command in order to create the rest of the lines in the same fashion as they have been for the 12x4 pitch. Offset, the first line is going to be 1/2 inch, 0.5 inches offset, and don't worry about the color for now, we're going to change it later. The next one would be offset as well, 3.5 inches. The next line will also be 3.5 inches offset. And finally, the last line will be offset by 5.5 inches. Now that we have drawn these lines, let's go ahead and change their color and their properties. I personally like doing this by typing MA for match attributes or match properties. And I select the blue line, the second line from the top, and select the line that I want it to be changed to, as well as the third line, since it's going to be the same. And I will change the bottom line, the green line, to be where I have drawn this now. Now the next thing we have to do is remove the existing lines that we had and fix the rest of the lines by using a fillet command or extending or trimming the things. As you can see, we have to extend a few things here and there, but the idea is that we have to create what you can see on the PDFs or in this video. The best way that I found to do this is to use the F or fillet command. We can change this to 12:2 slope, and let's trim a few lines over here to make sure that we're not going to have any extra lines passing through our building outline. Now let's double check whether this is going to work with our windows. Again, depth points layer, X line for reference line. Let's see on the front elevation, and it is right below our windows. So that is going to work. That is going to work for our roof design for our garage. Let's remove the first reference line that was above, and let's change the same thing for the right elevation. Once you finish, you should have something like this. And again, make sure that you trim it correctly. Since our roof line is working really well for our windows, we're going to go ahead and draw our roof outline using the elevation layer, red color line, and drag it across so that it meets with the overhangs. Now we're going to extend this line down and trim the things that are passing through our roof, since they're not supposed to. This is our final look for the garage and its roof. One of the last things that we're going to do is that we're going to draw downspouts, but only on the front elevation. Let's go ahead and remove the reference line that I've shown. Let's go to the blocks area, and under miscellaneous you'll see a straight rectangle. Let's copy it to our front elevation only. We're not going to focus on the rest of the elevations in terms of downspouts for now. Let's go ahead and put this right underneath the bottom orange line, but about half an inch away from the red line on the right side of our building. Half inch, I would say, would probably be the maximum that you want to put it against. Now that we have put it at the gutter level, let's go to the bottom of this rectangle, drag it to the grade level, which is the thick green line, and extend using the arrow above the same downspout to the same location. Repeat the same process for the garage. Copy it. Make sure it's offset roughly, it doesn't have to be precise, but to the right side of the garage this time. Now drag the bottom portion to the grade level and trim using the arrow that you can see highlighted in cyan color. Just like this. Another thing we're going to work on right now is the hatch, which is probably one of the most exciting things. Let's go ahead and change the layer to the elevation hatch. Type in H for hatch. Put it in the front of the building first. And then let's match the properties of the elevation we've pulled in for reference, MA. Copy on this and copy on the one that we have drawn. And it copies and essentially matches the same attributes. Do the same for the garage, MA, to match the properties, and follow the same concept for the rest of the elevations. Once you finish, it should look something like this for the rear elevation, left elevation, and the right elevation. One of the last things we're going to focus on is add a few annotations to the front elevation only. Let's go all the way to the top. You will see there will be notes, vinyl. Let's go ahead and copy those as well as the text note here. Let's copy all of them to the left side or the right side of our front elevation for reference. And try to populate everything as you can see on the PDF using this principle. Essentially, move this text note to the certain location and change the text note here to the text that I've shown on the PDFs. Make sure as well that you're going to align the section of dimensions on the left side to the building. Remove the reference since we're not going to need it. And this is going to be the final look of your front elevation. It doesn't show exactly every single thing that needs to be on the construction documents, but it shows about 85 to 90% of everything you need to do. Again, we're not going to worry about the rest of the elevations in this class, but the concept is very clear. This is what it's supposed to look like. If you go to your A1 sheet, you already have those viewports showing what you need to see. And the same goes for the A1A side elevations. And this brings us to the end of the elevation design process. Thank you so much for sticking around and doing all the work thus far.